Hello and welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection Game Day. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Qualls, and with me as always, my co-host, Tate Mathews. We're very fortunate today to have a special guest with us, former Brentwood star Jack Montague, now of the Yale University Bulldogs, is joining us today. Thanks for coming, Jack. We greatly appreciate it. Jack, let's talk a little bit. Let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself. If they're new to the area, if you're not new to the area, I'm sure you know well about you, but let's talk a little bit about what you've done.
Okay, I'm from the Brentwood area. I went to Brentwood High School all 4 years. I played basketball for Coach King and had a very successful 4 years, 3 years, I guess, with Coach King. And then I graduated and went to Yale University.
So take us through that process of deciding to go to Yale. What went into that process?
To be honest, it was kind of a quick process. I didn't realize I was getting recruited by them for a little while, and then they sent me a couple letters in the mail and invited me up to one of their elite camps. So my dad and I went up there, and I performed pretty well, and then the coaches started recruiting me heavy over summer. And once they told me, they were like, Jack, I want you to be our point guard in this class. And I thought about it with my parents for a little while, and without much thinking, and I said I can't really pass up this opportunity, and decided to go to Yale University.
Yeah, it's everybody knows about the academics of Brentwood High School and how successful they are. I know that was a real feather in their cap. Not only can we send kids to the Ivy League out of here in school, but we can in athletics too. I know the wrestlers up there went up there to Harvard that you went to school with, but it did come about late, the recruiting process. Had that not come about, do you even remember where you were going to go?
I mean, I had a couple of looks from schools in Kentucky and North Carolina and a couple of local schools. And then at the end, Columbia University and the Ivy League was also looking at me. So I had other options, but I committed before my senior year of school started. So I kind of, after I committed, basically everything else went away. So
tell us a little bit about Yale.
Coming from the South, living here my whole life, it's a culture change. But now that I'm a senior, I'm used to the campus. I've got a house off campus. I've kind of adapted to the environment. But it's a great little place. It's in New Haven, Connecticut. It's a very college town. It's great. There's a lot of history, a lot of tradition around the campus. It intrigued me, and it still does. So.
Well, when you go through and you're participating at an Ivy League school, so your workload as far as the classroom goes, how does that impact what you're doing athletically? Because I know that you can't skimp through. You're not going to have people there taking care of things. You're going to have to take care of your business off the court. So, what is that like? Right.
It's really different than a lot of colleges that I've heard of from other teammates or other athletes in Division I, but it's a lot of time management. That's basically what they preach to you. But it's nice because during the Ivy League season, the games are only Friday and Saturday. So it provides you not to miss much class throughout the week. But they don't give you tutors. You have to get your tutors on your own if you need extra help. But
I don't imagine if you're attending an Ivy League school that you probably need a tutor. But I could be wrong on that.
Early on you
definitely did. Yeah, in Spain, there's some classes that are pretty tough, and they help. It's basically student tutors that just try and help you through the classes.
So in the Ivy League, who's your number one rival?
Harvard.
Okay, so let's look at the football side, because you know that the Yale-Harvard game is huge. Matter of fact, was GameDay there this year?
It was.
What kind of atmosphere is that? Because a lot of people overlook these games, the Ivy League games. It's a small this, that. Tell us about that. Tell us about the atmosphere.
The Harvard game is definitely the biggest game in the Ivy League. And even for the football, our football stadium holds about 65,000 people, and no one really goes to any other games. Probably 5,000 a game for football, but it's always packed for the Harvard weekend. And that's the same for how it is with basketball. Basketball, the whole gym is packed, and we don't have a very big gym necessarily, but the Harvard, it's just such a big rivalry. It dates back to the early 1700s and stuff like that. So, by far, Harvard's the biggest rivalry we have in the Ivy League.
Well, and then all the people that attended both those schools, I think they come back a little bit more for the football. Have you been to the football games when you've been there? That's got to be quite a scene.
I have not been able to. Our coaches kind of try and schedule a game during the football game just so
get you out of town.
Get you out of town.
Yeah.
They flew us down to Georgia for a Mercer game one time. So
instead of being at the Harvard-Yale game, you were in Macon, Georgia.
That's right,
Exactly.
which you can't hardly get there from there. But and not only did he get you out of town, he got you out of the state and all the way down to a new portion of the country. But yeah, I can understand that as well because I'm sure it's just an absolute madhouse and scene of things going on. The coaches worried about the situation, making sure that everybody's doing the right things. But you started all 32 games this past year. You led Yale with 67 three-pointers and led the Ivy League with three-point percentage of 45%. That's you look at 45%, you look at what Steph Curry did this past year in the finals, and all year long. Anytime we always said you shoot over 32%. That was a coaching rule that we had at the high school level. If you shoot over 32%, you're a good shooter. You have to get, your scouting reports are around that. Now you're shooting 45%. My goodness, I mean, scouting reports from the opposing teams have to figure out whether to skinny up, go under. If you go under, you're going to be dead. If you try to skinny up and go over and do all those little small things in the scouting report. So what did you do in preparation to this last year's season to get yourself the confidence that you needed to do what you did?
Well, I think that's the main point is I think my confidence level just grew a lot through my coaches and me personally as well. My first 2 years, I got in a little bit and performed and played well to the coaching's standards. But I think filling in a role, they needed another starter since one of our teammates went down with an injury. So that we needed a two-guard, and I was the best shooter on the team, and I felt like I needed to continue to get myself in the gym, get shots up, and then once I was in that role, I felt like my confidence continued to go up, and I guess the shots were just falling.
You want to ask him about the shot, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Well, then we got to get to it. I remember I'm laying in bed Friday night, getting ready to go to bed. Sports Center's on. The shot, man. Play of the day. It was play of the day, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yale upsets UConn. He's drawing it up there. Jack Montague. I said, Jack Montague? What did I say? There you are, man. Play of the day, ESPN, buzzer beater, or, I think there was 6/10 left to beat the defending national champion UConn. Man, that doesn't happen much. Kind of talk us through it. I know you've had some time now, but that's a big deal.
Players. Javier Dern inbounds. Montague, the deep three, and he buries it with under a second to go. Jack Montague stunning the crowd here at Gamble Pavilion. Well, in the same corner that Texas broke the hearts of the Husky fans, a perfectly designed out-of-bounds play. Montague came over from the other side of the floor, ice cold all night. A little step back and a dagger for Yale. Jack Montague breaking the hearts of the Connecticut faithful.
You had a prior relationship with Jack. You knew Jack. You're from
Right.
this area. At that point in time, I didn't know who he was. So I'm sitting in the kitchen getting coffee that next morning. The top 10's coming through, and they're saying that. I said, that's a nice shot. And they keep going through, and they say, Jack Montague. And I got to thinking, I remember you talking about him, and then you had him on the show.
Right.
And I was thinking, hold on now, this is a Brentwood kid. And you come in. Now, I'm gonna throw you under the bus for just a second.
Okay.
You're 0 for 6
Yeah,
coming into this
yeah,
shot.
yeah.
You hadn't hit a shot the whole game. Now, apparently, they read the scouting report, and they were probably skinnying over everything, weren't they?
They were.
They were not letting you – they were trailing you, pushing you into double teams, probably doing those little small things. And you couldn't get a shot. If you did, it was rushed. 0 for 6 coming in. Take us through what happened. You get a timeout. Coach draws up the play. What did Coach Jones tell you?
Well, the play wasn't for me, and I wasn't even the second option of the play either.
Did he even try to get you as a decoy?
I was the decoy.
Okay, all right.
It's pretty funny. I joke around it. But I was supposed to cross from one side of the court to the other, and there's kind of a guy sitting in the middle of the paint, and I guess UConn players miscommunicated, and one was trying to switch, one was trying to stay with his man, and they kind of just left me open. And I went to the opposite corner, and my point guard, who was passing it out of bounds, just found me in the corner. I just, without even thinking about it, I had to let it go.
Now, you have to be thinking. You got to the corner, and you're thinking, okay, I'm open now. At that point in time of the game, I'm checking your shooter's confidence. You're thinking, don't throw it to me, or I'm wide open. You better get it to
No,
me.
he's never met a shot
I
he
know.
didn't like.
I can tell by the conversations that we had already that there was no lack of, you better get it to me. I'm wide open. So the ball's coming to you. It has to be surreal. Slow motion, boom, catch. With all the repetitions that you had up in that point. You got individual workouts that you have to do with your coaches, the things that you had done in preparation prior to that. It was just, at that point in time when you caught and shoot, you could see the seams. I'm sure it's slow motion coming to you, get your seams right. When you shot the ball, it was just one of those things that was so repetitive that you didn't even think about it.
Right, exactly.
And then you hit the shot, boom. When did it register? I just beat UConn.
Man, it took me a while. I've seen the play a few times, and you can just see my face right after the shot. Right after I hit it, it's just blank. I kind of just, I guess, blacked out.
Now you think Coach Ollie at UConn thinking he's 0-6, you think his face is going, are you kidding me? Of all the kids to get the shot.
Yale.
Yeah, Yale. First off, Yale beat us. Nothing taken away from Yale, but UConn being the defending champions.
Right.
And then you see the post-conference with Coach Ollie, and he's just, you can see the top of his head the whole show. The whole press conference. He's not even looking up. He's like, we're trying to get through adversity. He's saying all the right things, but he's sitting there thinking, Jack Montague, 0-for-6, just hit the shot to beat us.
Well, and the good thing, you didn't have much time. Remember, you fell back, right?
Yeah.
And then he had to get up and get back down and play defense, so you didn't have a whole lot of time then. But that was the other thing that is amazing to me, and I know he's going to ask you about it too. You're a shooter. Obviously not, you're not a 6'6" point guard, 2 guard. The amazing thing to me is how wide open you were. And you made the shot, but how quickly they closed that gap, man.
Right.
You were falling back when you hit it. Those cats, you got
I've
about
always
that
said-
much time to get it off.
I've always said, and we go back to the region tournament this year with Coach Wilson, Franklin. There was a loose ball, there was an inbounds that Hillsborough threw, and it bounced twice and goes out of bounds in front of the bench. Nobody touches the ball. Referees missed it. It should be under the basket. I had several people ask me, why was I yelling at the referees? Why is that such a big deal? Because under the basket, into the game scenarios is the absolute hardest to guard, bar none. If you get it on the sidelines, it takes your defensive scheme is different. We make them catching it away from the basket. On this situation, you got your flat corners to worry about, and plus they're worried about the middle. They're worried about giving the bucket up to go into overtime because they're thinking the whole time Yale's going to make some type of cross screen or up screen, zipper screen to get the guy open. That's where the miscommunication comes. He's wide open because the guy's worried about the inside. Boom, game over. And it's just so difficult to guard that. Was this a drawn-up play or was this a play?
It was. We had a timeout, so it was drawn up.
So it was not something that y'all had done in the past.
We hadn't even practiced play.
So there you have it. There's a difference between high school and college. Obviously, they can take what they draw on the boards and apply it. But at the same time, he's telling them on the other side of UConn, do not give up the bucket inside. We'll live with the 3, thinking the high percentage is they're not going to make it. They didn't realize that Jack Montague was sitting on 1 for 7 that night, and that was a one big one. I'm just messing with you. And what a great shot, man. I'm so happy. To watch you after the game, watch your teammates rush and jump and, do all those things. You still had a possession left, right, because they call a timeout, and then you intercept the pass. And so take us through real quick. We got about a minute. Who were you guarding that night? On the scouting report as you're going in, who do you guard?
I was guarding can't even remember. I know I was on Boatwright for a little bit of the night, Ryan Boatwright. But I was
He's
also
not a
on
shabby
this,
player.
No.
And I was also on this guard his last name was Samuel, who was a pretty good ball player as well. And Sam Cassell Jr.'s son as well, actually.
So this scouting report is probably a little different than the Ivy League scouting report that you usually go through. We're watching the back cuts. I'm stereotyping Ivy League, but you have a lot of back cut offenses set up there.
Right.
Harvard, for instance, with the Princeton style offense and et cetera. But here is more of probably an athletic. We're going to get the balls. We're going to spread the floor, try to create some shots. So your defensive assignment that night, playing especially the point guard position, is probably pretty difficult.
Yes, sir. It is. Especially against Boatwright. It's probably one of the quickest guards in the country.
So well, we're visiting with Jack Montague of Yale University. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with him. We'll talk a little bit about Brentwood High School basketball. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Reading the Day by Sandy Coomer. Before the book is opened on the day, I gaze upon the cover's bright design and listen to what words the morn might say as introduction to this storyline. As chapter follows chapter, there is pause to rest my eyes before the rising plot can fix me in some independent clause or capture me within some deed or thought. Some characters, some themes I've known before, but every word's arranged as something new, some passion, some deep lesson in the lore of living set for me to find, pursue. What little time to read the day, to learn its heart before the final page is turned.
Hello and welcome back to WCS Sports Connection Game Day. I'm your co-host Jeremy Qualls, and with me is Tate Mathews. And we're still visiting with Jack Montague of the Yale University Bulldogs. Shot heard around the world against UConn, defending champions, to break a 28-year losing streak this past year. Let's go through some other games that you had. You also had the Florida Gators in the same year. Was that after the UConn game?
It was the game right after.
Game right after. So take us through that game. I know that you're a lifelong Florida fan. How was it going down there and playing against Billy Donovan's club?
It was great. It was a great atmosphere. Got to see all of their practice gyms, the arena. It was a lot of fun even before the game. But the game didn't end up like we wanted to, and we were coming on a winning streak, and they were coming off a losing streak, and they ended up playing one of their best games of the year. And
so unfortunate for you, you hit the game-winning shot, which is fortunate for you, but you coming into that next game, Billy D and his crew were sitting down there with their scouting reports thinking there's no way this guy is going to come in and beat us. They're going to shadow you. They're going to go under the screens, everything we talked about earlier with UConn. So you actually got your hands on the scouting report, right? And what did it say?
It said, caution, flammable, don't let this guy get a shot off.
So, man, you're thinking, oh, yeah, they're looking at me. I'm the number one option right now. That's a good thing going into the game. Unfortunately, they probably put the best defender on you for the game, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did the game go for you personally?
The game for me didn't go too bad. I think I had double-digit points, but the game just got ugly early. We turned the ball over quite a bit, and, I mean, we laid an egg.
Well, they're a little more athletic probably, and what I see the biggest difference in college basketball is there are a lot of guards that can play at the D1 level, and there's not a lot of discrepancy. But the bigger, better teams that you get to always have a better, more skilled post players. The threes, the fours, all the way up to the fives usually are the difference makers between an Austin Peay, as I'm going to say, or a Yale and a Florida.
Right.
And that always provides difficulty, especially when you're pressing and they're pressing you and doing those things. They're longer, stronger, and probably have more depth at the positions than you do.
Right.
So
So Big East team, SEC team. You played another SEC team. You all came home, or you came home, played Vanderbilt at Memorial. Almost the same ending. Talk a little bit about that. You hit another last-second shot to force double OT in front of your hometown crowd. There were probably, 12,000 people there. I think maybe 2 of them might have been Brentwood High people. So that had to be pretty neat. But another big shot, almost pulled off the upset against Vanderbilt. Walk us through that game, too.
That game, it was my coming home game, so I had a bunch of friends and family, and everybody was at the game that I knew, and it was a game that we could have won. Vanderbilt's young, we're a little older. All 5 starting players for our team are upperclassmen, so this is a game that we were pretty confident going into, and we were playing really well. We were leading the whole entire game, basically, until about the last minute and a half, and they hit a couple big shots to tie it up and go to overtime. And then double overtime, they were up, and we ended up pulling back and down by 2, I guess. And one of our guards took a shot, missed it, and it was kind of just tipping around, and I just ended up getting my hands on it, and it was about a second left, and I just pretty close to the basket, just shot a floater, and went in double overtime, and then they kind of handled us from there on out. But
was that a depth thing? Did y'all get tired?
Yeah,
we got more numbers.
I think we were playing about 5 or 6, maybe 7 at most guys throughout the whole game. So I think I played about 40-plus minutes. A couple other guards played 40-plus minutes. I think with their home crowd, that environment for them, and they probably had a little bit more depth than we did. So I think all those factors kind of went into the very end of the game.
And that's a great environment. I mean, I grew up a Vanderbilt fan. I always dreamt of playing on that floor, and that would have been my Vanderbilt's like your Florida. So take us through that, the Memorial magic. You're over there. It's a different setup. You have your end zone seating there, and you have to go check into the middle floor. I mean, was it pretty awesome to go out there and play and sense that crowd in that environment?
It was. I've been good friends with an ex-Vandy basketball player, Mario Moore, for a long time, so he's taken me to a few games, and I knew Kevin Stallings. I knew one of the walk-ons over there at Vanderbilt, so I had a lot of connections, and it was a great coming home game, and then the whole, like you said, the whole sideline, checking in from the baseline kind of thing. It was a very good game and good environment. Exciting to come back home and play.
So I got to ask you about the NBA. Obviously, the story of the year: Steph Curry, MVP, world champions. What is Steph? Is he 6'3"? Is he even 6'3"?
6'2", 6'3".
You know, on the shorter end of the point guard, and he's really changed the game. And you're kind of like that. You know, I mean, obviously, when you go play Florida or UConn, you're not the tallest guard on it, but a shooter, quick release, get it off so much. Watching a guy, so quickly, watching a guy like that. Obviously, you're going into your senior year, pro ball probably a possibility. But when you watch a guy like that play, he's got to be your favorite player to watch right now.
Him and Chris Paul are my two favorite players in the NBA. Yeah.
So when you see a guy like that coming out of Davidson,
Right.
league MVP, what does that do for guys like you?
I mean, it just motivates us, I guess. We watch his games, we watch his film, try to learn some moves that he uses, some techniques, just certain things. And, I guess it just gives hope for, small guards to do big in the NBA.
Growing up in the golden age of the NBA, Jordan, Magic, Bird, best to ever play. You come in, and with my son coming up, who's a big Steph Curry fan. I mean, we're bandwagon fans. We're not. It's not like we've been lifelong fans, and we have been LeBron fans. But to see what he did, and how he has the ball on a string, and the command that he has, and the shots. I read that he makes 500 every day. Now, a lot of people say, well, I put up 500 shots a day. No. He makes 500 shots a day, and that's before or after he even does whatever else he does. So. I think he's an ultimate advocate for the league. I think he's an ultimate family guy. I think he is a humble guy, and I wish him the best of luck, because I think that he is a perfect role model for our kids and people still playing to look up to because of work ethic. You don't ever see him do anything crazy off the floor. He carries himself well on the floor, and he's a little guy, and I love the little guy stories. But talking about that, I don't know if you have any aspiration, I'm sure you do, to play ball after your college career is over, but you are going to study abroad in Croatia. So give us a little insight of what that's going to be about and what it could possibly go towards in the future.
Oh, I'm just going to Croatia to take a couple classes. My dean is teaching the class, so it's going to help me provide my senior year a little bit easier. So going over there, I'm not necessarily going to play basketball, but there's some gyms over there that I'm going to be continuing to play basketball. But again, like you said, it kind of leads to me seeing if I'm interested in going and playing overseas after college. So I'm excited. I've never been out of the country. It should be a good experience, and hopefully I like it. Hopefully I can experience it some more once I go play overseas.
Do you currently have a major?
I do. I'm American Studies with an area of concentration in politics, so basically a political science major.
Okay. So you've got Coach Jones that you're playing for now. So let's go back in time. Brentwood High School, Coach Dennis King.
Yeah.
What does Dennis King mean to you?
He means a lot to me. Coach King helped me out. The transition for me from high school to college, he made it a lot easier because he was such a disciplined coach. He paid attention to little details, and that helps going into college. I would go back to his practices every year that I've been in college, and seeing him still coaching and still getting under people's skin and telling them to set down screens and making sure they're doing basically everything right.
You're very fortunate that you have that. I mean, because when you get into the college level, you'll play with some guys or even know some guys that probably didn't have those head coaches at the high school level that paid attention to those details. And I've been in his practice too, and I was surprised, not the word, I love the coaching style, and even when I coached, I didn't pay attention to those details, and maybe I always second guess now, and I think back, maybe if I'd have done what he had done, maybe we'd have done some success in certain areas. So it's interesting to note that when you got there and you go through those first practices, like your individual workouts and stuff, you already know the verbiage. You already understand what they're saying, where a lot of guys come in probably are behind the 8 ball. So, I mean, he brings that to the table, and the detail that he has in practice is immaculate. I mean, if you don't do it right, let's do it again. If you don't do it right, you're going to do it again. Let's do it right. Full speed. You're not going full speed. Let's do it right. I mean, so it's awesome to see that. And when we found out that he was not coaching again next year, I mean, I called him up. First off, I thanked him tremendously for what he had done, but then I begged him to reconsider, but I was already too late.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. I think I've got this right. Your freshman year, your sophomore year is the year he came back, right? Or was it your freshman
he
year?
came back, I think, a year before I started my
Okay, so
freshman year.
so he comes back and you're there, and I really do. I think there's a lot of things that go into this, kind of like with the football. Jack Daniels comes in. He had a quarterback by the name of Bill Whittemore.
Mm-hmm.
Jack ran an offense that was perfect for Bill, and then football took off, and so with you coming through and Coach King coming back, I think it was just the right timing. And if you ever talk to Coach King, 3 state tournaments in a row to finish out his career. This team, obviously Jack's going to be a senior, came 6 seconds away from winning a state championship against Memphis Hamilton. He will tell you that you are as much a part of this as the kids that got there. And so you didn't quite get there in your high school career.
Right.
2 sub-states in a row coming up short. But to watch those guys, he will tell you laid the groundwork along with some others. Watching that had to be very satisfying.
It was. I was able to we didn't have a very successful year at Yale my freshman year. So for my spring break, I was able to come back home, and I went to the sub-state game where Asa hit the game-winning shot against Blackman. It was my first opportunity to be in the student section, so that was a fun experience. So I try and keep up with them as much as I can. I tried watching their state games this past year, so it's been great to watch.
Well, Coach King will mention exactly what you said. Anytime you talk about this run that they made this past year, he mentions you by name and Asa by name and says, look, this started back 4 years ago, 5 years ago with these guys laying the groundwork. And I know that you're good friends with Grant Teichman. We enjoyed thoroughly watching Grant play this year. What a great player he did. What he brought to the table for that team. Had 40 in the district there to get them going. And then, just a great player. So I know that you'll enjoy watching their careers go on. Jalen as well will be going to Lipscomb and seeing these guys go on. I'm assuming that y'all will keep close tabs with each other.
Definitely. And I mean, right now I'm still working out with Grant Teichman on a weekly basis, basically.
So I have to ask this question: who's the better shooter?
Oh, me. There's no question. No question.
You think if Grant was here, he would be arguing with you just a little bit?
No, he wouldn't be arguing with me.
Well, that he also won the Wilco this year for best basketball player. And was also up for male athlete of the year, and deservingly so, because, I mean, he was a flat good player. I enjoyed watching him play, and Coach King. Do you still keep tabs with Coach King?
I do. I still talk to him.
Well, tell us about your relationship with him now as a former player.
I wish I could keep more contact with him, but every now and then I'll congratulate him on some big wins. He'll ask me how school's going, how basketball's going, and then I'll come in on his practices, watch, help him with practice, play against the players, provide a little defense on some of their star players and stuff like that. So, and over the summertime, he sometimes has me coach the JV teams, and then he'll have me bring in some other players and we'll play pickup.
So is there any possibility of coaching in your future?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a possibility. Definitely something that I look forward to. I've always thought about getting my grad degree right after and becoming a grad assistant. So we'll see. Got another year to figure it out.
Right.
So a couple of quick things. We've got a lot of really good young players in this county, a lot of good guards. Where you are now and coming through it, what are a couple of things you would tell them, make sure you're taking care of right now if you want to be successful come college?
Well, it first starts with academics and make sure you're getting your grades are well and you're staying in school, staying out of trouble. But then for me, it was always staying in the gym. My mom, like you said, works at the Brown Middle School. So she had a key to the gym, and every chance I could get, I'd go up there with my dad and get shots up all the time. Even during the summers, I used to ride my bikes up to the school. So I think it's as much as you want to work, I mean, there's definitely opportunities out there.
You can't work hard enough.
Right.
Well, Jack, we have enjoyed this thoroughly. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much. I
No
think
problem.
we could go another segment with Jack Montague. I appreciate it. On behalf of Tate Mathews, I'm Jeremy Qualls. Thank you for joining us for WCS Sports Connection Game Day. We'll see you next time.